Good morning. Today we're going to talk about secrets. And I don't mean this kind of secret. When I talk about secrets, I mean this kind of secret. The one that may be right in front of you that we don't see, that we hide, or someone's hidden from us. And a lot of these, when you think about them, and I'm going to share 10 of them today that are specific of secrets about real estate. And these secrets are things that I'm going to also tell you a way you can use these as an opportunity in your business. And you'll find your own way to craft them. But many of these you're going to find, oh, I knew that. It's obvious. Yes, it may be obvious, but that still doesn't mean that it's an obvious thing to you. It is still secret in your mindful thinking of the day. So secret number one, I'm going to dig right into these. Real estate companies are not in the real estate business. They're in the real estate agent business. We're not formed that way, but most of these companies work in a very different way. Their goal is to get a lot of agents. More troops on the ground gets you market share, and it's not a bad business model. I'm not even being critical of it. I study these businesses. I think they're really interesting. But these businesses, if everybody in this room ran down to one of these big boxes and said, we want to be here, they would be very delighted by that. But that doesn't necessarily, I believe, serve the buyers, the sellers, the agents that are there, or even all of you. So today, we don't fight wars with infantry. We use it with special forces. So the opportunity here the opportunity with the special forces is using technology to find right targets. You know, the world has changed. You know, these businesses, Uber, Amazon, Airbnb, they're not what you would call just web businesses. These are tech-enabled services companies that have formed their structure and model to operate really genuinely different. They're not just a big box like Sears that just filed for bankruptcy. They're not those companies just tech-enabled. These have reinvented their models. And so what we're doing in this as well is we're a tech-enabled services company. And this is very thoughtful in what we're doing. So what is the opportunity of this secret? For us, it was about tech and new ways of working. We're aligned with the buyers, the sellers, the agents, and the staff. We didn't start this business because we felt it was going to be just another brokerage. In fact, I think there are too many brokerages on the planet. There are going to be several 100,000 more real estate agents from 2 years ago to now. That does not serve everybody well. There's no way it does. But there are reasons because these companies are in the real estate agent business and it serves them. And good for them. If they're profitable, they're doing well, and they're giving people opportunity. But when we designed the business, we decided if we're going to do this, we need to do it so everybody's rowing in the same direction. So, you know, as I tell all of you, your opportunity here is to grow your market share. And do that, my job is to be sure we're all aligned and going in that same genuine direction so that we have agents who can genuinely help the buyers and help the sellers in ways that might not have been possible. So now I want to talk about the next secret that is a little interesting. And this is an opinion piece, but I think it's very possible Uber drivers may change real estate industry forever. Not Uber, Uber drivers. What's taking place is the Uber drivers who are 1099 contractors have gone to court. This has made it all the way to the Supreme Court in California and Maine. And they actually won in California. It's going to continue to work itself through the courts over time. Maine, Uber lost, but the court said the laws conflict. The legislature needs to address it. So this has begun. Imagine what happens to the big box brands that are in the infantry model, where they actually make money off many of the agents who don't produce, if suddenly they had to pay everyone a salary. It would change the world of real estate as we know it. And if you think about it, it's not that much of a leap that if the courts say, oh yes, the Uber drivers by these rules are going to be classified as employees and eligible for benefits, then I could see, don't we all know those real estate agents who go, I deserve more? How many of the almost 2 million agents in this country, how many would it take for a few of them to go to court and say, we're employees as well? Now, the states have definite carve-outs, very literal exceptions in their laws and regulations that cite real estate agents are an exception. But there's not that much of a stretch between new court rulings and even the IRS rules of what makes people eligible to be employed to see that this may change and won't be quick. Agents should work in a business model that survives and thrives under any employment structure. And when we built our business model, this was one of the threats to the business we decided to address. How would this work? Let's be honest, you're producers. We just change how the pay goes through the business. We'd withhold taxes. This works if everybody produces, and that's our model. So this is one of the things we want to do to make this business anti-fragile and resistant to the threats of the economy, such as those kinds of issues. I heard at one time said the IRS, unsubstantiated, was targeting two groups they felt might not be treating their contractor status correctly, and that was real estate agents and strippers. All right, let's talk about Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley won't be able to kill off real estate agents in the next decade. It's trying really hard. We see all the companies that have come up that have developed and evolved, and we're like, okay, well, what's going on here? Well, I think they misunderstand baseball, and they misunderstand people. Not all of them. I mean, let's be honest, Facebook knows a lot about people and our behavior. Google and Amazon, they use the data to predict consumer behavior and keep us engaged. But there's some pieces they still miss, and I think it's partly because they've not gotten out and talked to enough people around the country, face to face. Break bread, as Zane would say. So Silicon Valley's chasing money, and they want to do this on scale. Software as a service companies, things where you build all this stuff in the cloud, and they may not ever see you. Well, my belief here is, first off, real estate has a lot in common with baseball. And that is, almost all our deals are done with a direct competitor. There's somebody on the other side. So one of the reasons every time Silicon Valley tries to make a really dynamic model, including trying to find new ways for sell by owner, new ways for flat fee and reduced commission, they get some traction on this, but there's always the other side of the deal that doesn't want to play. So if you want to rebuild a baseball team, you can't change the rules of baseball, you change how you build your team. And that's one of the things Silicon Valley continues to struggle with, how they're going to execute that. Now, one can argue, but Glenn, people are already houses are the next step. People buy cars online all the time. That's true, but there's a big difference in a house and a car. Are they large purchases for the average consumer? Absolutely. But let's be honest, if I say I'm going to buy a 2017 Ford F-150 with these features, wherever it is in the country, that's going to be about the same thing, and it's transportable, it's movable. I can relocate it. A house built in 2017 in one part of the country is not necessarily like the same house somewhere else built by different builders, even if they use the same blueprint. This comes to a problem with Silicon Valley not understanding the alignment of buyers, sellers, and agents. And so they keep trying to help one entity over the others. So the opportunity is not only for our business, for each of you, is to think beyond what everybody else does in real estate. We're very much an industry that likes to do what everybody else does. We meet with lots of agents who go, well, that's not how we do that here. Good. You know, hey, Glenn, the directionals are really large. We don't use big directionals. Good. Yours will stand out. But it makes people, the normal, the consistent makes us feel safe because it's comfortable. But that's not necessarily where the opportunity is. All right, now I want to talk about money and houses. One of the secrets is that homes are not a good profit-earning investment. And this is a problem about getting people to sell their home at an appropriate price. Traditionally, if you look at it, over time, homes have been a placeholder. Now, right now, most homeowners tend to think, oh, my prices just keep going up. And that's the mindset that came from the boom and its bust. So if you look at the house prices all the way from 1890 to 2014, clearly we had the Depression. That made a big mess. We had this cycle here where things went up and down, and this is where homes were a really good holder of value, a holder of cash. But you didn't really make a lot of money. People over time would make a little money or lose a little money, but it was a good way to keep cash. Maybe you built your equity. But when we hit the boom bust, during that boom, our mindset changed. This is where home flipping came in. This is where getting a home equity, my home's equity went way up and I took cash out. I made money on my house just because I owned it. Clearly, we all know a lot of people lost money because of that. But here's the reality is that even though a lot of people lost money, you are all dealing with sellers who their secret is they've been fooled by this last boom. They still believe the home is how they make money. It's not how they make money. It should be a placeholder. The blue circle is the more normal. That's what's normal, and they don't remember it. One of the reasons is the concept the psychologists call recency bias or recency effect. We're far more influenced by things that happen recently than over time in long periods of time. This is why someone says something harsh to you and it hurts your feelings, but it hurts a lot more than it did what somebody may have said the same thing 5 years ago or 10 years ago. You may not even remember it. We remember the most recent things, and consumers are doing this with their real estate property. So our opportunity here is to help those consumers, educate, nudge, remind. Many people don't want to be educated, but this is your opportunity as the professional, is to help them get to that place, to understanding pricing and negotiation, that you're thinking about what happened last, not what happens over time, which is the reality. The market will always correct itself. There's another thing about Silicon Valley and big real estate companies, and they're in this battle here. If you watch it, that is that each of them think they're the future. Keller Williams is dropping $1 billion in the tech fund, but they still want more and more agents. They're talking hybrid virtual brokerages for places where they already have such market dominance. They need those brokers to be able to expand their footprint using tech. Meanwhile, we have all these companies we hear about, Zillow, other opportunities of technology, private equity funded. They all think we're the future. Well, here's kind of my take on this is I think they can't or won't see that there's another option. So I don't know if you know who these gentlemen are here. This was at Inman Connect this year in San Francisco. So Brad Inman, who Inman News, Inman.com is really the industry source for what we're doing or not doing. And Gary Keller sat down, although Gary stood up a lot of the time and refused to sit down. And they had a really spicy debate. I don't know if it's still on video, or you may have to be an Inman subscriber. And Gary explained his future of how he saw how all this works. And he did a drawing, got his dry erase board and marker, and he really commented on two ends. There's the agents with no tech. He said, they're dead, they're gone. Those are the people the MLS book. That's over. And the other end is all tech. He said, that alone doesn't work. So he contended there were two types left, tech-enabled agents and agent-enabled tech. So the tech-enabled agent, this is the agents who are using the MLS, other tools, CRMs online, things in the cloud, email. And then the flip side are Realtor.com, Zillow, even Redfin. And he even boldly stated these companies, if they could get rid of real estate agents tomorrow and still make money, they would do it without a bat in an eye. And I think he's right. His contention and his billion-dollar bet, which may be right, he's a bright guy, is that if we put more tech in all these agents, this is just going to accelerate what's worked in this country for a long, long time. What I find very, very interesting, and I think personally, and we've built this business around this model, is that there's something different. Why is there not a hybrid? They tend to be one or the other, winner take all. Big real estate company, we can't reinvent ourselves, so we're going to apply more technology. The real estate companies, the technology companies saying, we're going to invent a way, just like we're going to be the Amazon of real estate, one way or another, once we finally crack that nut. If you look at what we've done here, we're a hybrid of both. We genuinely are pieces of each. We're not one with the other stuff bolted on. So the opportunity here is to have a little bit of hubris about is what we're doing, period. A lot of you have seen a lot of activity that was very positive for your business. This is not instant, it's not magic. But what we want to do is build a business and a book of business for each of you that's anti-fragile, meaning it's going to survive hard times and good times and not be at the whims. So we're going to talk about another secret, number 6. There's a for sale by owner pricing bias. Sellers and buyers each believe they should get the commission amount. And this is not, I don't see people talking about this one. What do I mean by this? I'm selling my house for sale by owner. I'm going to keep that money. I'm not paying a commission. But I promise you, people looking at for sale by owner, they know the seller's not paying a commission, and they believe they should get that money back. And they may even look and say, well, look, all these other houses in the neighborhood sold for $350,000, but I know they paid a commission, so the real value of a house is that amount minus a commission amount. So you're selling the same house, and with no agent, I should pay you what the house is worth. They believe they should both get that opportunity. So this gap that bridges creates an additional problem. We all say, oh, when someone lists with a real estate agent, the average sells for much more money. We bring a lot of value in services, but it also overcomes the gap because the buyer and the seller, this gap, they have no one to negotiate the gap for them. But as soon as you add an agent to that mix, the seller and the buyer's perspective changes. They know it's involved, and it actually closes the gap by itself without anything else happening. And then the work and service you provide adds value. So the opportunity I contend with all for sale by owners, and there are other ways we can help them, is help them. Particularly in lake markets. Nobody's going to find that lake home out in the middle of nowhere. So be of genuine help. Create value in all you do. Something we discussed last night. And earn the position of their expert. And in doing so, your existence will help solve something just by being involved of solving this pricing bias. Okay, don't we all love shortcuts? So real estate secret number 7 is that real estate is not a shortcut to financial wealth. And all of you know this one because you work hard. But there's some other things going on about these types of things, about how we're approached and about where we should spend our money. And one of the things is we still would like a shortcut. I think there's more money to be made selling crap to all of you than maybe selling real estate. You get the calls, you get the calls. A lot of you, when we call and we're from out of state, you don't necessarily take that call because, well, that out of area code numbers, they're selling me something. Now they're getting sneaky with other calls. I think the opportunity here, though, is we contend in all we do is the fastest way to do something is to do it right and to learn from the best and then do those things. That's what this event here is for. There's not shortcuts, but you want to find how you can find process skills that others are using effectively. It's not a shortcut, it's a process or a skill. Another real estate market is secret is about there's not one big market. People say, well, how's the housing market? Well, your market and each of your places around the country are different from each other. Here's the thing that I find very interesting. The big brand boxes, oh, we're this big national brand, but you're not one big national market. In fact, even the Remaxes, Keller Williams, Coldwell Bankers of the world, they're a bunch of niche players as well. They're local. If it's here in Birmingham, it may not just be the city of Birmingham, but within that office are agents who specialize in certain neighborhoods. So I think it's very interesting as people move forward in real estate to think this is all one big bucket and it should all be impacted the same way and all treated the same way. It's talked about in the news, housing is up, housing is down. That has interesting information, but it's not really actionable. It does set consumer mindset. So the opportunity is not just work a niche, but own it. Even agents who are not in something specialized like lake homes, find a neighborhood, own the neighborhood. Within a lake market, own a neighborhood, then own the next neighborhood. That be by market space, geographically and type. Niche, niche, niche. Everybody's in niche. They just don't always recognize it. The next secret of real estate is I believe the age of opulence is over, and it's impacting a lot of you. Lots of reasons for this. You know, there was during the boom, people were rich, housing prices are going, we're buying bigger and better. But not only did the crash bring people back down to earth, culture has changed. The world's a little different. But there's still a lot of homes that are out there that are overpriced. So as they move forward, in these homes that we see that still believe they're going to make a profit, they also, y'all all tell me, well, the seller just says, this is how much money I've got in it. And they want that back out. You got to do a pattern interrupt. So the analogy I would have here is, if you bought a stock at the peak of the market, bought some stock at $500 a share, and a few years later, that company's not done well, and it's trading at $250, you wouldn't say, well, I bought it for $500, that's what I got to get. You go, that's what it's trading on. I can either let it ride, or I can take my $250. Well, here's the deal. While there was those peaks and valleys in real estate and the stock market, it is called a real estate market. It is a market just like stocks. The consumers don't always think about it because they're emotionally invested. But if you can use a different analogy, like ask them, what would you do with a stock that did this? This is the housing market, even if it's local. Another thing that is showing how the culture shifted, people have invested in a lot of furniture. For decades, families would scrape for good furniture that would last a long period of time. Consignment stores have gotten where they've got so much of this because culture changed, they don't want it. They can't sell it. It's not worth anything. And people go out, my grandmother saved, they worked really hard to get this good furniture that could be handed down for generations. And now I need some IKEA furniture, and if it goes away, I'll move. We're a disposable generation. We're downsizing. We've got our stuff and our parents' stuff and our grandparents' stuff. And it's just stuff and stuff and stuff, and there's a cost to stuff. And so this is the same that's happening with the houses, is they're stuck about the same mindset of, but it's nice. This is nice furniture. Go to a consignment store and ask them how much it'll cost for this furniture. There are places you have to pay to have this nice furniture hauled away. That's sad because people put blood, sweat, and tears into earning that. They really did. But this is a mindset that we've got to help people with, not just about their stuff, but it's the same mindset that's affecting their home. So the opportunity, I believe, here is to help sellers understand the word value is not a constant. It changes, and they have to be adaptable to that. That's going to be hard. People love these things, but that's the opportunity. And use pattern interrupts. People don't necessarily want to be told they're wrong, but you can use examples, the furniture. You can use examples like stock market. Use things that let them look at the problem from a different perspective. All right, as we kind of wrap towards the end of this, let's talk about it is that simple. And this is our last secret. The world wants us to think that things are really, really hard. It's way complex. You need all these things because it's too hard for you to do it. I contend this selling of shortcuts hides the fact that processes and hustle work. Somebody came to my office not long ago, having talked with a lot of you for several months, and said, the common denominator of our agents who are knocking out of the park is they just hustle. They just work. Not hustle like you're pulling a fast, hustle like you're making things happen, you're pushing, you're going. And they do it over time, he said. And he was right. The world wants convenience. We all do. We want a shortcut. Our brains are inherently lazy. This is where Silicon Valley is pretty good at figuring out how we work and fooling us and thinking there should be a shortcut for that because convenience sells. I want things to be convenient, and many things that's happened with. If you think about, convenience is how streaming killed the DVD and how Blockbuster went away when Netflix came with disc and then with streaming. I have DVDs on the shelf and I watch it on a streaming. Because if I put in the DVD, I have to go, if I can't just stop it and pick it up somewhere else and the thing turns off and I have to go back and find it. I'm paying to watch a movie I have on the shelf. iTunes killed free. It killed free pirated music. We pay for iTunes. And it used to be, that was an industry filled with inappropriately acquired, but music that you could just find on the web and put on your MP3 player. But it was hard and cumbersome and different formats and lots of bad things happen. But hustle and work is where things really move and that people forget it over and over. People want to buy shortcuts. I contend that's how many businesses, including many of the large real estate companies, they sell us a shortcut. Come work here, it's just going to be easy. Software companies, I'm going to generate all these leads for you, just pay us. They may not be good leads, but people have settled for the fact that we'll all buy the same crap over and over because we think it's easy, it's convenient. Work matters, processes matter, and I hope today and in the morning you think about processes and skills because I know you'll do the work, and that's the leverage. Those opportunities of just do that work, since people will pay for convenience, be better at providing convenience to them in getting their dream home purchased or getting their home sold. Make it more convenient. Add value in all things you do. What I want you to do through the rest of the thing here is uncover your own secrets as we work through this. Somebody will share ideas and tips or a skill, including this afternoon when we have our open space session. Be thinking about things that you have in your mind that you'd love to learn from each other. What are you having an issue with, and find the secret that'll help you get that solved. And with that, you will accelerate your business. So, thank you very much.